Digital 410 Productions proudly presents the Fail to Fail podcast with your host, Don Abernathy.
What's up, OG5? Welcome to another episode of the Fail to Fail podcast. I know it's been a while since we've been together. Full honesty, I've been chasing down some leads, trying to get some guests on here, but with COVID and then finally everything opening up amongst the people in the athletic world, everybody's super busy. Just to give you a little hint, I've been trying to get some people on here from the OCR world. But speaking of which, I did complete my third Savage race about 3 weeks ago, and we discussed it at great length on the What's in Your Head podcast with my co-host Gordon Abernathy. And so I thought I would just include that 30 minutes of that podcast on here so you guys can relive the recap of the nightmare that was the camping weekend for my Savage race. But before we get into that, today is April 1st, and it was the release of the Savage Anywhere virtual race, day one. And I've got to tell you, that is nothing to sleep on. Holy hell. I almost feel like it's harder than the actual Savage race. Let me just give you a rundown. Full disclosure, I only completed half of it. It kicked my ass. I want to do the other half tomorrow. So today I completed 90 burpees, 90 leg curls, I think they're called. It's basically where you hang and you bring your legs up to your stomach. But basically they have it broken down into multiple little series, if you will, multiple reps. I'm rambling on at the mouth right now because I'm trying to pull it up on my phone so I can give you guys a rundown on what day one is. And of course now Bailey wants out of the room. Hold on a second, Bailey. Okay, here we go. Now, I don't know if when people do the Savage Anywhere, if everybody actually does the warm-up, but they had the warm-up listed, and I'm all about challenging myself and doing what I'm supposed to do. So I did do the warm-up. And so we will start there with the warm-up. The warm-up includes, 2 rounds of a quarter of a mile, easy enough. 10 air squats, easy enough. 10 body weight good mornings. I had to look online to see what that was. And 20-second left and right Samson stretches. So you do that twice. That's the warm-up. That wasn't the problem. Here is the day one of the Savage Anywhere Cobra virtual race. It's 10, 40, 30, 20, 10 sets. So first set, 50 burpees, and then 50 hanging knee raises. It's basically you hang on a bar and you raise your knees up to your waist 50 times. Then you go run a quarter mile. Easy enough, right? Come back, you do 40 burpees. Then 40 hanging knee raises, run a quarter of a mile, come back, do 30, etc., on down to 10. Sounds easy enough. I did have a long day. I did get up early because I had a lot of stuff to do this afternoon. But I got the 50 burpees in, struggled through that, didn't do it all. I did 10, took a breather, 10. Anyhow, got the 50 done, did the 50 hanging knee raises, ran a quarter mile, came back, struggled through the 40, ran a quarter of a mile, and I'm cashed. I'm spent. So tomorrow I got to do 30, 20, and 10 on both the burpees and the hanging knee raises. So if you guys are looking for a way to challenge yourself before your next whatever it is you're doing, or if you want a good gauge of how fit you are or how not fit, as in my case, I strongly suggest you try out the Savage Anywhere VR race. It's super cheap, and you still get the shirt, the medal, and if you are running a race this season, it does count towards your syndicate. So you will get the add-on bonus of the syndicate medal. But I'll keep you guys up to date on that. Head over to my YouTube channel. Go on YouTube, look for Digital 410. I'm going to post up the video from today, later on tonight. And but here we go from the What's in Your Head podcast. Here is me and my brother talking about the weekend that I did my third Savage race and the family vacation that went awry. Look at this. Can you see that?
Wow, that's the world's worst hickey in the weirdest spot.
You can't really see all of it, but that's from the race this weekend from supporting all 220 pounds on my arm on that inverted crawl you saw me do in the video.
Mm-hmm. So you got yourself a little war wound, huh?
More than one. So I'm sure, as everybody knows, because I've been posting videos everywhere, I completed my third Savage race. The metal this year is super awesome. The Savage itself is kind of made out of that liquid rubber. And it feels in real nice. And at the top it says best damn obstacles anywhere. If you watch the video on YouTube, at the end I wasn't too excited, if you will, with my overall performance, because I really wanted the fact that I failed like the very first obstacle I've never failed before. I passed it every time. That's the one that spins. They're like little octagons and they spin. The funny thing is
that the one you blamed on all the YouTube viewers?
Yes.
The camera fell off.
That's where, the first time I ever ran an OCR with a headset on and it wasn't tight enough, so it fell off. But then I went back and did it and I still failed it. Now, I fumbled my way through that the last 2 years, and then this year I failed it. But interestingly enough, while I was uploading that video, I was watching, there's a YouTube channel and a podcast called the OCR Media, which I'm working on something hopefully for the future with that. I'll get to you off the air of that. But anyhow, I'm watching the pros do it, and it turns out what you do, instead of trying to monkey bar your way across these octagons, because there are 4 octagons that spin in a circle, and there's a series of them. What you do is you just grab one bar, and your momentum will spin you around to the next one. You grab on one bar, and it'll spin you. So you're not actually, if you're good enough, you can do the monkey bar thing. But anyhow, I failed on that, and I failed like 5 out of the 28 obstacles, which I wasn't. And to be honest with you, I don't really consider like commando crawling under wire an obstacle. It's just kind of a slowdown thing. And so there's like 7 or 8.
Yeah, I was going to say it would be an obstacle if it was real barbed wire, right?
Yeah, or like Tough Mudder used to do with electric fencing. But and so some of those I really don't consider obstacles, but basically anything that's not a flat level, they put a number on it. Mm-hmm. So I really wasn't super thrilled with my time because I wanted to finish in the top 10 because last year I finished top 16. But the caveat to that is the last race I ran was a minimum capacity COVID makeup race, because last March was supposed to be my second race and it got canceled due to COVID, and so they pushed it out to November. And so when November rolled around, they basically did a makeup. So there was less people there. So I came in the top 16 because there were fewer people there, which kind of makes sense, right?
Yes.
But I still use that as a jumping off point, no pun intended, as, how I want to do for my training. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, well, I'm going to set a reasonable expectation that I want to finish in top 10 in my age group. Not overall. There's no way in hell. There's the elite wave. When I was watching the pros run that on the replay, these guys are running like in that first open quarter mile, because there's like 3/4 of a mile before there's even a obstacle. They're running like a sub 6 minute mile. My best minute mile is like an 8.5. So there's no way I can compete with the elite guys. So I try to go by my age group, even though I'm doing an open. But anyhow, my last race I did, I'm looking at athletes, which is cool because all of the results that are monitored by chips are uploaded to this website called Athlinks. And so like literally every race I've ever done that's legitimate, my times are on this website. So last November, I ran the entire thing in 1 hour and 40 minutes. And that's roughly 7 miles, 28 obstacles. My pace was, saying I ran a 33. The pace is off on here. But anyhow, I finished out of 1,053 males, I was 134th, which ain't bad. But out of males 40 to 44, I was 16 out of 135.
Only 6 off.
But that was last year. So I wasn't thrilled with the fact that this year I finished 25 out of 128.
So what happened? What's the difference?
Well, honestly, I wanted to blame it on the sleeping situation, because I have trained.
Are we talking the camper kerfuffle?
Yes. As I said at the top of the show, this week is also spring break, and so I thought, hey, I got to go to Dade City. I usually run a hotel room. Why not just grab Nugget, grab Carrie, grab Bebop, jumping Dad's
have a family outing, right? Jumping
Dad's camper. And as you guys heard me complain last week, I was complaining about how next to impossible it is in the state of Florida to find a fucking campground that's not a 55 and up retirement village. And so I found one that's ran by Thousand Trails / Encore. They run a chain of campgrounds. The last campground that we went to was Peace River, which was a Thousand Trail Encore property, and we had a great time.
So you think the standard is there, right?
Mm-hmm. And I went as far as Googling campground without RV, looked at the pictures. They have a nice outdoor pool, all these beautiful pictures, all this good stuff. Thought good to go, right? So, go on there. This time, at the last RV hookup we had electric and water, but we did not have sewage. So, before we left, we had to trail around, find the septic and offload, which, whatever. And so I was like, you know what, this time. But the problem with that is that's when we discovered when Nugget took a bath instead of a shower, she filled up our gray water tank the very first day. And so for the second day, we had to basically shower in the on-site facility because we didn't want to have to tear everything up, go dump out the gray water, go set everything back up, right?
Let me pause you right there. So those of you who are not watching, Don just pulled the bullshitting around the campfire move with his bottle cap.
Did you see where that flew? I was like, what? So yeah, I went to snap my beer bottle cap, and it flew backwards and bounced off my headphone earpiece and just flew to the side. I was trying to flip it at the camera, but it went backwards and bounced. But yeah, anyhow, so the first and only time we'd gone camping previous to this, we didn't have the sewer hookup, and we didn't know how small the water tank was, or I don't know how much water Sariana ran in the bathtub. But long story short, the very first night we were out of gray water space. We had just enough to flush the toilets a few times, but not take a shower, and I didn't want to tear the camp down, go drain the tanks, and come back. So this year, we were planning on staying Friday, Saturday, and maybe tearing down Sunday and hoping maybe we can get a deal if the park was a little empty, maybe stay Monday or Sunday night and then tear down Monday. We're kind of planning on that. So I was like, I don't want to get in a situation again where we're counting gallons on the gray water tank for flushing the toilet. So I paid for a premium spot. Mm-hmm. It came with power, water, and sewage. $76 a night.
Sounds fantastic.
So we leave Friday after Carrie gets home from work. And so it's about 3 o'clock time we pull out of here, and it's almost a 2 and 3/4 hour drive, but I got to drive through Sarasota and Tampa through rush hour. Sarasota, I don't know what the fuck you guys got going up there, but anytime I drive through Sarasota on rush hour, there's never an accident, but there's always a standstill traffic on the interstate until I pass the last exit, and then it opens wide up. I don't know if people don't know where the fuck they're going. It's people trying to get to that off-ramp at the last minute, but there's never an accident. There's never any construction. It stands still until you get past the last off-ramp, and then it opens wide up. Long story short, we get there like 7:15. Their office is closed. And so I find this lady standing there who's the park ranger. And I said, hey, I got...
Talking about the resident drunk?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. I like that. She's like a manager of an apartment complex.
Yeah, but she had a cool car with a fake badge sticker on the side that says Cloverleaf RV Resort Park Ranger.
So is she a park ranger, sort of like that Metro State guy?
No, she's a park ranger as much as the 70-year-old guy at the gated community sitting behind the fucking in the box checking IDs before he lifts the gate to cop. She's not. She's just somebody who's hired to quote unquote be their park ranger.
To that Metro State guy out of Florida who was funeral procession and he kept acting like he was a cop. But anyway.
So, anywho, I tell her, hey, I would have been here a little sooner, but I got stuck in traffic. No worries. Go in over there, she points, and it's basically a room the size of a fancy outhouse. Okay. And it says nighttime reservations. And I walk in there, and there's a manila envelope stuck to the cork board. It has my name on it. And luckily, when I reserved the spot, I accidentally hit pay a deposit instead of pay the full balance. So I only paid for one night. And so we get it. We see the map. I'm like, cool, I'm on a corner lot. This will be perfect to back in. I'm not an expert with backing this thing up. I've only done it a few times. It's 22 feet. It's dark outside. This will be pretty cool. Easy to get in and get out. So we pull up this spot. And it's right on the corner. So you have a road, like a 3 foot at the widest, 5 feet at the widest peak triangle grass spot. Another, what appears to be a road, but turns out it's just a concrete slab. A pole, grass, another concrete strips with two picnic tables. And I'm like, well, which ones are? So I get out and I'm got a light. The ones at the 2 picnic tables are spots like 255 and 256, and we're in spot 257. The pole closest to the little pad next to the street says 257. And I'm like, what the hell? We're basically in the street. And Carrie like, this is tiny, but there's no one here. What the fuck are we going to do?
Sounds like you got the only paid a deposit only spot.
I was like, well, should we park in there? She's like, well, what if you park in there and go to the race and then they show up in the morning? Can't tear down the camper, you'll have the truck. Okay, well, we'll deal with it in the morning.
Yeah.
Back the camper in. The patch of grass between the bottom step of my camper and the street is, like I said, at the widest point, and it's a triangle, so it's not a full strip. It's about 4 feet. I can't put my sunsetter awning canopy out that has the LED lights that provide shade. That's where you put all your chairs and you lounge out like your front porch. If I would have extended this thing, someone would have drove through it driving down the road at night. That's
so
all.
You would have been lounging in the street.
Yeah. So we had no picnic table.
All right.
Not even a place. You know, our whole thing, like I said last week, all we wanted was a patch of grass, a tree, a fire ring, and a place and a picnic table. A place that, yes, I know.
The basics.
You're not
of a
going
campsite.
camping. You're going, look, I just want a place that my daughter can sit outside for 8 hours a day and not be inside. My idea, I just want her to be able to cook s'mores over a campfire, sit around outside, drink a beer, enjoy being outside. None of that could happen. One, there's no campfires in this entire place. They don't have fire rings. They don't allow campfires. Two, I don't have a picnic table. I have no place for the dog to hang out because, well, if I chain her to the front, she'll be in the street and get ran over. So I'm like, this is a goddamn nightmare. But I'll deal with it tomorrow.
You basically got the worst lot in a trailer park.
Yes. And it would essentially be like you bring it to your buddy's house in the city and him letting you park it out back and hook up to the spigot and plug into their freaking outlet so you can get some power while you're staying there over the night before you travel on to your next destination.
And praying to God some drunk doesn't come down an alley and plow into it.
Well, it turns out this place wasn't a campground as they advertised. Yes, it's a campground, but it's a it's a long-term living facility and a place for the weary traveler to park their RV for the night.
Everybody, so it's not clearly stated that in any of the nomenclature on the website.
No, because they're trying to get people. They offer weekend rentals, but a majority of the people there, it's 55 and up, and then people who are, who either can't afford a house and they're living out of a camper out of necessity, because there were some people raising some kids there who are about 7 years old, which it's one thing to live in a trailer park, but to raise kids in an RV park is a whole nother sadness.
That sounds like something you hear out this way.
And so anyhow, it's 8 o'clock. I got my start time at my race is 10:05. I've been training for this thing. I wanted to get up early, eat breakfast, because last year, halfway through, I couldn't open up my hands. And interestingly enough, last week on Netflix, I was watching a show called Blown Away, and it's about glass blowing. And there was a competition where they had to go for 8 hours, and the woman said, the problem with going that long in a hot room like this where you're sweating all day is after a while, the lactic acid builds up in your hands, you can't open your hands. I'm like, that's exactly what happened last year. So I did some research. Long story short, how to avoid lactic acid buildup in a race. It's about nutrition in the morning, consuming lots of water, taking gel caps and stuff like ultra-fat nut butter during the race. It's about staying hydrated, electrolytes. And so I came up with this whole nutritional plan. I was going to get up in the morning, eat bacon and eggs, down like 3 bottles of Gatorade, do a little carb loading. None of that happened because now we're sleeping in a camper. The dog's there. She's whining because she's in an unfamiliar environment. Carrie's back's hurting. She's tossing and turning. So even though I went to bed at 9, I was waking up like every hour, every 40 minutes. So complete sleep deprivation.
Yeah, and the big question is now, what did you end up eating for breakfast? Since it sounds like your nutrition plan was.
I got up and went to McDonald's and had a fucking McGriddle.
Oh, there it is.
I woke up.
It was the McGriddle.
Woke up. Hold on, I gotta shut the door because Sariana's screaming at her goddamn people on Xbox. I heard her in her cussing earlier today.
Oh, she is a teenager. That's going to happen.
And of course, dogs being dogs, Bailey's been in here the whole time, but now that the door is completely shut, she's going to go cry at the door here momentarily.
So she was cussing at people online. Now you play online with her at times, right?
Yeah, and she never cusses, and you've played with her too.
Do you ever cuss online?
Yes, but she never cusses. She has a whole new series of friends now, who are her age, and I heard her whisper, "Would you shut the fuck up?" I've never heard her cuss before.
How was your language at that age?
Do as I say, not as I do. And I'm not a girl.
Is the marching lines is the go-to line of every horrible leader out there?
Yeah, but anyhow, back to the whole thing. So no sleep. I get up.
Let's just gloss over.
I got to take the dog outside, get ready to go. I thought my race started at 10:15. My campground was only 30 minutes from the race site, so I leave about an hour early. I was wanting to get there to stretch, maybe run a mile around the place, get my legs warmed up, because I really want to finish in the top 10. And I was wanting to complete close to 100% completion on obstacles, which is absurd, but you got to have goals. So I get in the truck, and a bit everybody do. I stop, sit in the parking lot of McDonald's for like 15 minutes, get my sausage McGriddle, blah, and my nasty ass. What are you doing? My
Coke.
No, she's chewing on the bottle cap that fell off my head. Get the hash brown, drive down there, wait in line, and then as I'm signing my life away on the disclaimer and the waiver, I find out that my race starts at 10:05 and it's already 9:30. Fuck.
No.
Now I'm by my.
The only thing that you were blessed with is that thank God daylight savings time was Sunday morning and not Saturday morning.
And this is my third race, but my first time being alone. I usually have a spectator. Last November, Katie was there. Before that, Carrie was there. So now I have a book bag, got my phone in it, my ID. Where the fuck am I going to put this thing, right? I found out later that a bag check, but I found an area, there's just a bunch of bags laying around. I see some lady with like a kid and a playpen. I was like, are you going to be here a while? She's like, yes. Can I leave my shit here? She's like, sure. So I go do that. I drink 2 bottles of Gatorade from the parking lot to the starting line because I want to get some fluid in me because I'm trying to prevent the lactic acid buildup. Go urinate. I consume, for those of you who serial viewers of the show, we had Vinny Torridge on the show twice. He's the owner of NSNG Foods. This is his product, Ultra Fat Nut Butter. It is electrolyte infused vanilla almond with coconuts. It has 247 calories. It's got 20 grams of fat. It's got calcium in it, potassium, magnesium, a bunch of other good stuff. And I talked to Vinny.
Any sugar?
No, I talked to Vinny and I said, hey, is this stuff good during like running races or do I need to mix with stuff? He's like, no, that's what it's designed for. So I put those and I bought some other some high energy stuff. So I crossed, pollinated those. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Well, Vinny's an endurance athlete anyway.
Yes.
So it sounds like it'd be right how you'd model that.
So I drank Gatorade, 2 bottles of Gatorade, consumed one of these and a different product. Went in, ran. Throughout the race, I consumed 3 more. But as I said, I failed an obstacle that I never failed before, but I also passed an obstacle that I failed last time, but won the time before that. So I made up in the negative there.
So I have to review the game film, but I could have swore right before you hit that obstacle, you said my hands are too muddy.
Yes, they were.
Like you knew that it was going to be a problem as soon as you got up there. Because I think you said you're going to wipe it on your head.
Which I did. Learned. Yeah, I was watching.
So I paid attention to your videos, and then you went right before you hit it, you're like, my hands are too muddy, and then boom.
I slid off. Now, the other thing I have going in my head is I know that Carrie and Sariana are back in a camper at a campground with nothing to do, right? There's a pool there somewhere. They got the dog, and the last 2 times I've done this race, if I failed an obstacle, I'd go back and try it a second time. But I know I'm thinking, if I'm here all day long, they're going to be pissed. So I was like, whatever. I failed it. I just kept going. I did make up an obstacle that I failed last year, but passed the time before, which is the inversion one, which is what put all these bruises on my arm because you're literally hanging on a pole upside down, and then there's a piece of PVC on the next pole as you do the transition. It spins, and then there's a rope ladder. You can't touch the ground. You're completely upside down.
So that inversion one for the layman at home, that's kind of like these action films when they're climbing across what would normally be a rope this way, but you're using it on a pipe, right?
Yeah.
You're hanging down and you're just scooching across.
Yeah, the first rung is about 15 feet, and then it has a transition because the frame's made out of, for those who go to concerts, just think of the framing like the stage is made up or the lighting rigs are made up of, and that's basically what the rig is made out of. And so you have to transition over one of those rigs, and then the next pole has a PVC sleeve over it, right? So and you can see in the videos there's like bearings. And I've never gotten a thing to spin because I guess I grab on it properly, but the hypothesis is that it potentially could spin and drop you off. That's about 15 feet, and then you got like an 8-foot rope ladder that is only connected at each end by one line, so hypothetically that thing can spin too. And it's usually over water. You can hear me in the video saying that I think they've greatly reduced the water obstacles to help minimize COVID transmission, quote unquote. It's just a hypothesis of mine because there's a lot of obstacles that used to be for water that are now not. So anyhow, I make it through that. Long story short, I finished the race. Obviously, I got my medal, but I did not hit my goal. And I was really disappointed with it. And I finished in my age group, males 40 to 44, 25 out of 128. Now, what did I say the last one was? Last one I was
16.
Last one I was 16 out of 135. So less people ran, but I got a lower rank. But with that being said, it's not COVID, so perhaps more fast people went. And I know more fast people went because A, on the obstacles I failed on, with the exception of 2, I only tried once. But I felt a little bit better after I was putting my bib up and I saw my numbers for last year. Last year, I ran the race when I say last year, I meant last November. I ran the race in 140 minutes and 55 seconds. This year, I ran it in 125. So I cut 21 minutes off my race and still got a lower finisher. So that just goes to show that it really wasn't my performance so much because I ran faster, which also may be why I failed a couple more obstacles because I was too tired. May also explain why I was just running and fucking fell over. That's in the video.
I saw that. Don't.
Well, I'm running in trail shoes and they kind of have tread on them like almost like a tire. And I wasn't picking my feet up. And as you can see, there's nothing in there. I wasn't running through the woods, and my tread got caught a piece of dirt.
I think there was a movie that had the line that said toe pick.
I just fell, rolled. My skateboarding fall came in. I shoulder rolled, got back up, and just kept on going. I was like, well, that's a first. And so I was disappointed in my overall performance, but clearly my training helped in the fact that I cut 20 minutes off my race time.
How much do they ding you for an incompleted obstacle?
If I was running in the elite wave, see, this is the biggest difference between a Spartan race and a Savage race. In a Spartan race, regardless if you're open wave or elite wave, if you can't pass an obstacle, they make you do 30 burpees and you move on. In an open wave, you're just competing against you and your ability to do it. So there is no completion. It's up to you and your honesty between you and, because a lot of people just go out there as like team building exercises and shit like that for their church or their work and all that, or people like me who are, trying to endure themselves. But in the elite wave, meaning the race for money, it's 100% completion. That blue wristband you see, that's actually a tracker. If I was in the pro wave, if you don't complete it, now you can try the obstacle as many times as you want, but if you don't complete the obstacle, they cut the fucking wristband off and you get a DNF. So that's the biggest difference between a Savage and a Spartan. Spartan, you just do 30 burpees and you're on your way. Savage, if you're in the elite wave and you don't pass the obstacle, they cut the bracelet off and you just don't get a finishing time.
When is your Spartan race?
I haven't signed up for one yet. They got one, I think, later on this summer over in West Palm Beach or somewhere. They had one in Jacksonville, which was a few weeks ago, but it's too close to this. And I already paid for this. See, the secret of all these races is you want to buy your pass months in advance because they're like 40% off, and much like a concert ticket.
You to train, right?
Yeah, and much like a concert ticket, the closer you wait to the concert, the more expensive they get, and if you show up and buy it at the door, it's even more. Mm-hmm. But so I guess I can't be too upset with myself because I cut 20 minutes off my time. I just need to work more on my grip strength and my upper body strength. I will say there's an obstacle called Sawtooth, and it's all monkey bars, and it goes up and goes down and goes up, and it's over water. And I've never been able to get past the fourth rung because I can't do pull-ups. So 1, 2, 3, fall in the water. Oh, fuck. And so after I ran it in November, I did some research, and this cat was on YouTube. He said, if you can't get past Sawtooth, the secret is to go backwards. I'm like, that makes no sense. He said, the reason you go backwards is because when you go forwards, you're pretty much doing pull-ups. Because this is not a horizontal, it's an incline. So you're climbing up monkey bars. And
yeah, I think we had something like that at Ackerman Elementary School. I kind of remember a pitch. It just had one little pitch in it.
Now, there's different versions of Sawtooth depending on the state. The one in Florida, it goes up and it has transition over 2 bars, and then it goes down. They have one in Georgia that goes up, down, up like a sawtooth, hence the name. Luckily, this one's not that severe. But I said, okay, well, the next time I try this thing, I want to try it backwards. I guess when you go backwards, you're using shoulders and not so much your biceps and your titties. And I was talking to the camera as I'm walking up to this thing because I know people are watching this thing, and I try to put a little bit of dialogue in it. I fast forward through all the runs because no one wants to see you run for 10 minutes straight. Which is interesting enough, when you fast forward through your runs and then you slow down and you look like you're walking, even though you're still doing a 10-minute pace, but you look like you're walking. So anyhow, I'm talking to the camera about this in my Nemesis, and I did some research about doing it backwards. And this girl's walking next to me, and she thinks I'm talking to her. She's like, huh? Backwards? I thought, yeah. So anyhow, I try it. Wiped off my hands, and I went up backwards, and I actually made it to the transition. And transition, you're supposed to go sideways so you get wider wingspan. And I make it to the other bar, but then I slip. But I was completely happy, even though I didn't pass it. That's a PR on that particular obstacle. The fact that I made it to the halfway point, all I got to do now is work my way across it and then be able to work way down. Obviously, when you go down, you don't go backwards, you go forwards. But long story short, I need to work on my grip strength and my arm strength a little bit more. But my whole thing is if I can, like, let's say I sign up for this thing in November, and I have good sleeping conditions. I get my weight.
Stars are aligned, right? The planets are aligned. Everything.
And the other thing is I went in the race at 217. I was able to cut 4 pounds off, but it's going to be next to impossible to do. Last time I was able to cut down to 207 is when I ran 100 miles in 1 month. But when you do that, you're going to be so goddamn tired you can't get to the race. But if I can cut off that extra 10 pounds, that's 10 pounds less of me dragging across the fucking monkey bars. And it don't sound a lot, but when you bench press and you put up 10 reps, and then you go and take 10 pounds off, that next 10 reps is a lot easier. Mm-hmm. So if I were able to get down to 207 just for race day, I would be more. So let's say hypothetically, all the stars align. I go out there, I don't hit my top 10, but I at least get 100% completion, even if I have to try 2 of the obstacles 2 or 3 times. If I can get to that point, I would sign up for not the elite, but the age group where you can actually podium. So not only do you get a finisher medal, but you get like a top 3 or 4. If I can get to the point where I can do 100% completion, even if it takes multiple tries, I would sign up for a closed wave event where I would try to run in my age group. Because Spartan actually has age group runs. So not only do they have open wave and elite, they actually have age group runs. So like if you come in the top 3 in your age group, you actually win, I think, an extra money and possibly some money. I mean, money plus possibly an extra medal. So after the race, now you saw the video. I'm crawling through mud. This is at a horse farm, by the way, so you can goddamn guarantee there's horse shit in this mud. It wasn't quite as muddy as usual because there's lack of rain. So anyhow,
yeah, you had to be pleasantly surprised with that.
I was expecting. It's Florida. I like the water because it cools you off, and so I was you saw. I fast forward through when you're carrying the 2x4 or the 4x8 through the woods. That's usually through waist deep water, not through the woods.
Y'all have a bit of a drought this year.
It just hasn't been a rainy season, and to give credit to Savage Race, which I heard someone say on that pro race, is the good thing about Savage is you'll never see the same obstacle twice. Whereas Spartan, a lot of times it's the same exact thing, and so they're constantly, even though it's on the same property, they're moving it around, so you can't kind of quote unquote cheat by, well, I do it twice this year, next year I'll have it down. They're constantly changing it. There was 2 new rigs that I've never done before, and I've done the race 3 times. But anyhow, so it's supposed to be 7 miles, like 5 3/4. I get done, have my free beer. And I'm like, crap.
That's all he did it for. It was all for the beer.
Yeah. A lot of money for
But
that free
that beer tastes good, though, didn't it?
Well, it usually does, but in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I've been out here for an hour, 20 minutes. Sariana and Carrie are back at the camper doing God knows
still
what.
on the clock.
So I'm like drinking my beer as I'm walking to the hose to wash the shit off my shoes. I quickly go down there. I change, drive back, call the campground before I even get back. Say, hey, I'm the unfortunate guy in spot 257. And the lady's like, well, I've been off a few days. I'm not sure what's going on there. I said, well, I'm sure that spot's been there for years. You get a lot of complaints about that. But anyhow, explain to her my dissatisfaction. And luckily, because I only paid the deposit, not the full fucking weekend, I said, look, I would have been there at 9 o'clock this morning when you opened up. The whole reason I stayed at this place is I had a 10 o'clock race. I had to go run a 7-mile race this morning. I just got done. My race started at 10. Your checkout's at 11. There's no way I could have been there and just left today. I said, if I come tear down my camp and leave, can I not get charged for today? I said, because we're completely unhappy. I said, this is a $35 spot at best. And she agreed. So I went back. Didn't have time to take a shower. Enjoy that city water I paid for the night. Tore down camp. Hooked up the trailer. Drove to 3.5 miles home. So I got up. Was running at 10.
Wow, you camped 3.5 miles away?
Well, the 3.5 hour drive home, get home.
There you
So
go.
I basically sat covered in mud, horse shit, and everything else all the way for a 3.5 hour drive home. I didn't get a shower until like 7:30 that night.
Honey, we're going to go camping for this event. Yeah, the campground's only 3.5 miles away.
This has been a Digital 410 production.